Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome inside Purple Raider Sit-Down here on 91.1 WRMU. We are just moments away from kickoff for the homecoming game against the Wilmington Fightin Quakers as the Purple Raiders get set. But beforehand, we got an interview with Trey Williams, a junior linebacker for your Purple Raiders. Trey, how you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing great. And Trey, let's kick it off by just talking about last week against Otterbein for you. You racked up 4 total sacks, and it was a complete force on that linebacking core. What were you seeing from that Otterbein offense that opened up the door for you to get 4 sacks?
It was more my D-line, They were taking out the blocks, and it was just opening up. And one thing we're taught is to add into the back, and the back would go one way and the line would go the other way, and it was just a wide open gap. And,
looking at that defense, the defense racked up 10 sacks last week. Very impressive. It shot up to basically the top of the OAC with now 20 sacks in the season. Mount Union's defense as well leads the OAC with 4 touchdowns. The defense has recovered 5 fumbles. And Trey, what have been your thoughts so far on the defense now going into Week 5?
Our defense has been playing outstanding, but there's always room for improvement. One thing we preach day in, day out is that expectation is domination. And we truly take pride in that, and it's one of our motivational things that we do for the games and every week. So that's just our main goal, is to go out and just dominate every game.
And, we look at just as far as the scheduling goes, we talk about how much, we've seen John Carroll Week 10 of the season. It's the last game. In my belief, that is pretty much the game that gets you guys ready for the playoffs, but obviously you saw them in Week 3 a little bit earlier in the season. But now going further into this season, do you see any more of a change, or you guys are just the same way practicing for you guys, just going down the line, taking one team at a time?
It's one team at a time. We prepare for John Carroll just as we would this game versus Wilmington. It doesn't matter who we're playing. It's going to be the same kind of preparation each week. It's one thing VK preaches, and we truly follow it.
And with that defense, Trey, we look at that linebacking core for you. Obviously, yourself, Nick Brish, Danny Robinson, and Mitch O'Hara have stepped up. Just talk about, you guys as a unit on that linebacking core. Obviously, this isn't your first year playing with each other. This is, you keep on building that team chemistry. How has that been for you this season?
It's been absolutely outstanding. Me and Mitch are really close. Whenever we take our away trips, we're always rooming together. As most people know, me and Danny are also almost family, pretty much. His oldest brother is going to marry my oldest sister next summer. And then, I'm just really close with Brish. I just think as a defense as a whole and linebackers as a unit, we're all really close. It's pretty much like we're playing out with our best friends. We're out there with our best friends just doing what we love to do.
Awesome. And, Trey, looking at last season for you, you played in all 15 games as a sophomore, had 43 total tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, 4 touchdown. What was your main focus coming into last season after being a freshman? You were on the playoff roster. What you had to do to kind of get in your sophomore year that you had to change?
The one thing I knew I had to change was my conditioning, my speed, conditioning specifically, because as a sophomore last year, I was playing mostly the second half, just taking reps after Chuck and Danny got out. But this year I had to make sure I came in, had my speed up, had my conditioning good, so I'd be able to go out there and play 4-quarter games if I needed to, specifically like the John Carroll game.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And, sticking with that last season, you won a national championship. You combined for 9 total tackles and 1 sack in that game. I think it's just, for you and Nick Brish, you guys both stepped up in that national championship game when obviously with Deere out and Brian Groves went out as well. So you guys stepped up on that defensive end. How much did that national championship mean to you as a sophomore now that you've had one under your belt now and moving forward in a junior and senior year, you've been there before and now you can execute it out on the field?
It was huge. It was probably one of the greatest experiences of my life, if I'm being honest. Not even just the game, but the whole experience of just being down in Salem. Mm-hmm. Just the everyday typical things that we would do. It was just awesome. But to correlate to the field, it was. We've been there. We know what it takes, and it just pushed us because that much further because we know like what it feels like to win. We also know what it feels like to lose. You don't want to feel that, especially not that deep into the playoffs.
And now looking now into your junior year this year, for this Purple Raider unit you're starting, what has your main focus now been now on this defense for Mount Union coming into this season in 2018?
My main focus is honestly just to do my job. One thing we preach is 11 as one, and if everybody does their job, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna do everything right. So just play my game, pick up my teammates if something happens, just play the next play. So pretty much just do what I need to do and just keep playing football.
And Trey, a question I always love to ask when I interview Mount Union players: how did you find your way here for Mount Union?
Well, my dad was my high school coach, so I mean we took a lot of recruiting trips when I was still in high school. But I mean, being from Columbus, Ohio, I'm not too far from here, and Mount Union is just one of those traditional programs that you're going to hear no matter where you are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got guys from California, Florida. Like that just shows you how nationally known Mount Union is. So just being from where I'm from, I mean, the recruiting trips, just sending out all the emails and getting looked at by other coaches. I mean, Mount Union is just one of those schools that just it sits at the top of your list no matter who you are.
Awesome. And, now flipping our attention now to today's game against Wilmington. This is a homecoming matchup. First, Trey, with talking about homecoming, how special is it to play at Mount Union Stadium on homecoming?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, the crowd is just absolutely amazing. The fans are amazing. Just to go out there with, like I said earlier, like your best friends. It's just step on that field and you hear the fans just start roaring and everything. It's absolutely amazing.
And talking about the Fightin Quakers, they come in at a 1-3 record. They come off a loss against Heidelberg. What will be the keys for you guys to get a win against Wilmington here today?
I feel like our keys are just to play our defense. As I said earlier, 11 is one. Just do what we need to do. If everybody does their job, then we'll be good to go.
And looking a little bit more into the Quakers and with you scouting them, Trey, is there any player on that offense that we should look out for here today against Wilmington?
I believe that they have a great quarterback and some pretty good receivers. We've seen some pretty explosive plays. I mean, they're a pretty fast team. But I would say that their quarterback and their receivers are what we're going to need to look for.
Trey, final question for you. Do you have any game day routines, something that you must do before heading into a matchup?
Game day routines. I would say I definitely have to get to the field early. I'm usually one of the first people there. I'm usually up somewhere between 2 to 3 hours early, just getting taped, getting warmed up. So I'd say if there was one thing I'd do, I'd have to be early just to make sure that I'm ready and in the zone. So
the Purple Raiders, WRMU player of the game last week, Trey Williams, they get set to take on the Fightin Quakers from Wilmington here in the homecoming matchup. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we will have action from Mount Union Stadium as the Purple Raiders get set to take on Wilmington. Keep it locked in here, 91.1 WRMU.